Hey everyone, welcome to the Cedar Room podcast where we talk about life, family, a lot of business, and a little bit about everything else. I'm Dan Vanderkoy, husband to my stunning wife Erin, dad to our 3 wild kiddos, and owner of Mana Insurance Group. From running around playing games as a youth pastor to running an insurance company, I've experienced and learned a lot. We hope this is a place for you to come think, process, and challenge yourself to grow. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay connected as we talk through these ideas together. All right. Hey, we are here today. I'm with Kailey Bovenkamp. Hi, Kailey. How are you?
Good, Dan. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This is our second Mana podcast. We had Kyle Boone on the first one. We are excited about having you on. Kailey right now is our Chief Operations Officer at Mana Insurance, which basically means I dream up a bunch of stuff and you try to figure out a way to make it happen, or you just tell me no, right?
Yeah, that's the job description.
Yes, exactly. But so Kailey currently serves as our COO at Mana. Number one job, though, is as a mom to Griff.
Yep, little Griffey.
Little stud.
Yep, named after Ken Griffey Jr., of course.
You know, I'm actually going to visit Edgar Martinez in the Hall of Fame this week.
I'm pretty excided for you.
You should have named him Edgar.
Maybe number 2.
Oh.
This is not a...
That's not an announcement?
Not an announcement.
Okay,
No.
Okay. And then you're a coach's wife.
Yeah.
So Ryan...
My husband, Ryan, is the LC girls JV coach for the basketball team.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's so fun to see him just excel in that role and like watch the girls just grow character and become adults and members of the society. So it's really cool and rewarding.
Awesome. And I just know from being a coach myself, especially having a kid or a few, like it's a lot on a mom and a spouse to go through that, especially when you're in season and the craziness happens and you know, you want to give everything you can to your family, but then you also want to be able to give everything as a coach. And so
for sure
it's hard. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Moms and spouses
Couldn't
are coaches' wives, because it's a big deal.
Yeah. So. I couldn't do it without Ryan though. He's been a great dad and husband, and he balances it like none other. So
that's awesome.
He's cool.
That's awesome. Which is actually kind of funny talking about your husband.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how we met.
Right.
So some of you guys know that I'm an absolute baseball nut. A diehard Mariners fan, even though they've been terrible for years.
It's okay.
I still love them.
One day.
But Ryan and I and like 4 or 5 other guys across the country were actually on a text thread together because we actually tried to start a podcast one time about the Mariners, but it's hard to talk about them when they're bad all the time.
You don't really have anything good to talk about.
No, you don't. So it just turned into kind of a text thread about complaining a lot. And then one day, as I was getting into insurance and we were looking to add some staff, I was like, hey, Ryan could maybe be a really good insurance agent.
You didn't know him well enough at that point.
Well, apparently not. Yeah. And so I texted Ryan and I said, hey, would you ever be interested in working in insurance? And he's like, yeah, no. He goes, but my wife's like a finance and marketing major at SPU and would be really interested. And so kind of a cool story. So then Kailey texted me, sent me a resume. We met up, had coffee, and you always know it's going to be a good interview when they buy you coffee. Usually the interviewer is the one that's going to buy coffee, and she bought me a coffee. And then we sat down and she starts just like rattling off all these statistics about insurance in the Northwest region of Washington. She had studied not only our company that I was at the time, but studied all of our competitors, their websites, the types of products they sold, and came up with an entire SWOT analysis on what would benefit our business in the first like 10 minutes of like meeting her and sitting down. I was like, yeah, we're going to hire her.
I'm surprised you weren't scared of me at the time. This girl talks a lot.
Well, it's one of those things where when someone is as passionate about that, you're like, I want that on my team. I want that as an asset. And what's been really cool to see is you even just grow within your role, doing some sales, doing marketing, and now, you with like Adam and Tana and kind of our crew, kind of running the day-to-day at the office, which is just really cool. And the gifts that God's given you to use, it's been a blessing in my life, I know, but also just to see you to be able to continue to grow and to help our company grow. And you've been vital in that success. So thank you for all you do.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And so I'm excited to kind of get into a little bit about your view on things. Today's podcast is the title is Unapologetic for Profit.
Right.
And we don't pretend to try to be a nonprofit.
No.
We don't hide that we want to make as much money as possible.
No.
And I guess my question for you, Kailey, because I know that multiple people in the same industry and other industries have tried to steal you away from me. And I'm like, no. And you've been extremely loyal from day one. But my question is why Manna? Why do you we always joke that we're going to retire someday together and that sort of thing. And
well, I don't know, you're a little bit older than me.
I am a little bit older, but anyway, but why Manna? Why is this a great spot for you?
Yeah. So honestly, it just started out as a check mark on my college resume. I really needed to fill an internship and get that squared away with my School of Business application. And for graduation, we needed an internship. And I'm like, oh no, where am I going to go fill this internship? And it was just totally God's timing and how that worked out with you texting Ryan and the opportunity that came from that, and just moving forward with the opportunity for Manna. I was so excited when you came to me and with the idea of Manna and reached out. It was an incredible opportunity for someone, a little terrifying, coming right outside of college. I have all these tuitions to pay for, and we were looking at getting married and starting a family, moving back. But it was just great having Ryan as well as kind of a sounding board. And he has a great job. He's an accountant, so he crunches numbers all day. I'm like, yeah, this could be a really good opportunity and startup coming fresh out of college. I had some wild ideas that you were great with. And
wait, me and wild ideas?
No.
I'm not a dreamer at all.
Not a dreamer at all. But so it was nice to feel listened to and feel valued, especially in the moment as a millennial. There's so much talk about these millennials and taking over each industry and, the negative effects that can have. But I really felt like you looked at the benefits of a social media platform that I could bring. And that's something that I really appreciated right from the get-go is you got it. You understood it. And you really gave me free reign. Manna started and I was all over Facebook, Instagram, we started LinkedIn and just different channels. We were posting videos, doing anything we could to get our name, and it was working. And that was really cool.
Yeah, and even with that, I'd say one of the cool things that you were able to do, we went from, granted, I'd been in the insurance industry for, 5 years at the time, but we went from being a company that was non-existent to number one on Google within 6 months.
Yeah.
For, I think it was auto insurance in
and home insurance in Whatcom County.
Yeah. And you working with some different outlets for that, but really taking the ball and running with that.
Yeah.
And then even just to see, like, from that initial marketing campaign and launch that we did with the website and stuff when we first started in October, November 2015 to now doing an actual total custom build with Corey Jameson and those guys at JAG was phenomenal. And it's funny, I was actually at a barbecue last night with Corey and we were playing our favorite Frisbee game, Can Jam. And so fun, right?
Yeah.
And my kids are addicted to it now, so it's great. I can play anytime with them. I've trained them.
That's great.
But even Corey just speaking so highly of the job and the attention to detail that you've done with that, and then carry it out through the different marketing campaigns too. And I think there's something to be said for balancing the old with the new when you talk about different generations, right?
Completely.
And I would actually, depending on what study you look at, I kind of fall in the millennial, but I kind of fall in the other one too. But it's one of those things where it's like, if we can have consistency in what we do and who we are and what we're about, and that message stays clear throughout, that definitely carries on amongst our clients, our community, the people that we're trying to reach. And that's where I think you've done a really good job with that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. It's been It's been such a fun adventure teaming up and, just being part of the Manna family. I know we always talk about that, and the Manna family, the Manna kids. And it's so true. This company is just such a blessing in my life, and just, it is a family. You look at each person on staff and each team member, and we truly care about one another and what each person's going through, because it's true. Each person's going through hardship in their life, or has experienced something, or is in the process of doing that. But I think part of the reason why Manna, I love the support that comes from one another, and you feel like you're genuinely cared about while you're there. So the team is just incredible. And I mean, the opportunities are endless when we look at this platform and what we can do, with our community. So,
well, and you talk about community, and I think that's something that's ingrained in our DNA as a company. But I guess even maybe getting outside of Manna, we don't want to just sit here and talk about Manna all day. No. But even your experience at SPU, you went through some really hard stuff down there.
Yeah,
and with the school shooting that went on and different things. And maybe coming out of that and into the business world. And I would say that sometimes college campuses can be a little bit, and even high school too, right? You're kind of sheltered a little bit. You're in your bubble.
Completely.
You're going to your class, you're doing this, you're in your dorms. But so then coming into the business world and kind of real life a little bit, like, tell me about that experience and maybe why the community portion and the family portion is so important to someone coming out of one of those situations, because what you find on a college campus, and then all of a sudden you're kind of thrown into everything and things change.
Right. Oh man. So looking back at just our time in Seattle, we were so excited, right? And I say we, speaking to my husband, Ryan, and Ryan went to Seattle Pacific University as well. He was a year above me. So, it was a good time. I remember my senior year of high school sitting down with Ed Baumer in my psychology class, and Ed has known me since I was probably 2 years old. We've gone on AAU trips together with my brother and Brady. We're the same age, and good family friends. And we were talking about college applications and going through all of that. And he goes, SPU, you'd be a really great fit there. And he's like, and also there's just a little halo around Queen Anne in Seattle, just a little halo. And so that speaks directly to what you're talking about, the sheltered life. And so I went there. It was great. Freshman year, whole learning curve. Sophomore year, I was also in the dorms during that time, but it was finals week of my sophomore year. The sun was shining. We were getting ready for summer, and just a few days left until we were able to break for summer and go home. And everything was looking peachy until I was sitting outside with my friend. We were working on a finals project, and we hear all these sirens coming. And I don't really speak about it that often, so I apologize in advance. But all these sirens start going by, and all these cop cars, and we get an alert on our phone, which every now and then we would get an alert like, hey, the 7-Eleven down the street is getting robbed. We had that a few times, but it was high alert, get inside, shut down. And everything around us was shutting down.
And no other insight besides that?
No, nothing that could have been talked about or discussed at that time. So we didn't really know what was happening. Everything shut down, and then we tried to get inside, and I remember there was a little cafe and an older lady working it, and she was just, get inside, So we rushed in, got in a classroom, and sat down. And then the text started coming in that there's an active school shooter on campus in a auditorium that I had classes in 3 times a week during that quarter. So, I mean, I don't want to make it some drama story or anything, but it was pretty scary. I saw a bunch of kids running it was just right across the street. So they were all sprinting around, and we didn't know how many shooters or what the deal was. We heard choppers coming over, choppers were flying over, and we saw all these news stations coming out, and SWAT teams, dogs, you name it. It was just in what felt like 30 seconds, everything was happening around us, and we had no clue. Rumors started flying about people getting shot, all of those things. And it was just it was a really hard time, and it was terrifying in that moment, going from living in a small town in Linden, and, my parents went above and beyond to make sure I was always protected, and being in Seattle, the little halo around Queen Anne, so that was a pretty scary time, feeling so just vulnerable.
Yeah.
You didn't really know what to do. And I can remember the lockdown being lifted and just sprinting up the hill. There's the Ashton Hill right there before my dorm, just sprinting up with a couple of my friends to go to our dorm, make sure everyone was okay. There was one fatality, and he lived 3 floors above me. Seen him a few times. He was a freshman. So much life to live.
Yeah.
Just full of life, I didn't know him super well, but there's just incredible stories. And coming from that, community just was so pressed afterwards. Like, the level of community is something I've never seen before. Like, there were people doing like prayer circles in Tiffany Loop, and all these people just wanting to help and coming to campus, and there were support dogs, of course, because what college kid doesn't want to pet a puppy in the moment,
right?
But just the time of comfort that you felt from people coming around you. And I can remember and place myself in the moment of thinking, wow, this is really nice to have all these people, coming around and just trying to like uplift and make you feel better, But why does it take a school shooting or an illness, a cancer, or anything else for a community to happen? And that hit hard for me at coming out of that. And even a few years later, that happened a while back now. And I still think about it. Why does it take these tragic events for community to really pick up the pieces? How can we, with our platform, come first before tragic events happen, and just have that support system within community and be a safe place for people? We talk about Linden and even beyond Linden, community, it's just such a huge thing here. But I believe it's our social platform that we've been gifted to kind of maybe lead this the younger generations, older generations, into this new era of having that community first. So putting these community events in play where everyone can just kind of put their walls down that have been built up by either politics or, whatever's happened in the last decade, and come together and be united and just have that unity. That, if you're a Christ follower, that unity and being unified is something that we are called to do. So, but if you're not, it's also just a great resource to have those people surrounding you and just loving on you, know?
I even remember too, this spring when we did that Linden comedy night that we put on with Grocery Outlet, sitting around the table with you and Sean Taylor and just brainstorming and talking about the amount of pain that is just out there in people's day-to-day
and it's
lives.
Real.
And and I look at things and I think I leave for New York in a couple days and it's going to be fun to go to the Baseball Hall of Fame and things like that, but like one of the things I'm really looking forward to is going to the 9/11 memorial. And you talk about catastrophic events that just tear a country apart or tear people apart, and still to this day, there's that reminder, and there's the wars that go on from things and different things like that, and the impact that it leaves. And like, at what point do we need to say, okay, enough with just having everyone rally around tragedy, but let's rally around each other. Let's rally around a common cause. And even that comedy night, the whole point behind it was bringing in Dustin Nickerson and the Panic Squad and those guys, and just to laugh.
Right.
And I think I'm not that old, but I'm
You're not that old.
I'm closer to 40 than I am to 30. But there's something about being able to laugh and like to laugh from like your gut, like, like just that good, like uninhibited, and even to see like that night, to see my kids there and to see my daughter Taya just like uncontrollably laughing at Andrew Bright and the Panic Squad crew. And, it's just, there's something healing about that, right?
For
There's
sure.
something about that brings people together and they walk out. And
and think about it, like in addition, when people are able to laugh together, they have those jokes as something that brings them together, like you were talking about, but they can leave that night and say, hey, remember the comedy night? Like, remember these jokes? And just give them something to smile about maybe later down the road.
Yeah. Well, and even that, and I look on different mission trips that I've gone on with people down to Guatemala or Tijuana, different places, and you come back and like you're united as a team, because like the trip that I even got to know Josh Gray and Mark on, it was like 32 out of the 36 of us were puking our brains out.
Oh no.
Because we all got this bug, but like there's like unity in suffering, like like you kind of let down all your walls and your barriers, and like so often we build these walls up around us, and I think that even happens in the business world, right? Like,
for sure.
As we transition a little bit here, the so often we protect our businesses in a way where it's like we want to take what we have and we want to put it aside and we want to keep it away from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to have this perception that we're caring and we really we want to be a part of community and stuff like that, but yet like what are we actually doing to actually show that? Right. The last podcast we talked a little bit about like, okay, the warning signs of selfishness, right? And then we talked about, but what am I actually doing to serve? Right? What is the point of service? And is it lip service that we're just saying? That's like, hey, we want to be part of community. Yeah, all right, we'll write a check here and there.
But will you walk the talk?
Will you walk the talk? And I even think about this one time we had in our office, like we talk in our staff meetings, we're about family. Right? It's so important to us. And so I remember one time, what I'm going with this, is we had someone who, they had a sick kid or something, or a spouse was out of town. And they had to go pick up their kids from school for some reason. And they're sitting in our conference room and we have this little like Nerf basketball hoop.
Of course we do.
Of course we do. And my office is right next to the conference room. And the walls, I don't think they were insulated so it can get fairly loud. Anyway, so I'm hearing and they're shooting the basketball and the copy machine's kind of there, so it would bounce off there, it hit the copy machine, it hit the table, and then sometimes it hit my wall or whatever, and they kept shooting. And I sat at my desk, and I think it was one of those days, when you got a lot on your plate and you're like, I gotta get this stuff done, I'm trying to focus. And I don't focus well when there's other stuff going on around me.
No way.
And believe it or not. And I just had to stop and I had to sit at my desk and I just went, and I had to make an actual conscious decision. Do I walk out there knowing that these kids are going to be there for about another 30 minutes? And do I say, hey, I need you guys to sit down and be quiet, please? Or go to their parent who works with us and say, hey, can you go talk to them? Or do I just let it go on and make them feel comfortable? Right. Knowing that it's not their ideal situation either for them to be there.
Even though you had discomfort.
Right. Yeah. And I thought to myself, I said, you know what, Dan, you need to suck it up. You need to practice what you preach. Yeah. And that was an opportunity of like, it wasn't just something we were saying, we're actually doing it. Right. And I look back on that, I think, that was one time I did something right. There's plenty of times I did things wrong, but it's one of the times when you look back and say, yeah, that's what we're about. Right. That's the importance of community, because we're raising our kids together. And so for me, like as we talk about different things in the community and being a for-profit company, right? And we've talked about it. Like we flat out said we want to be $100 million insurance premium company. Yep. In little old Linden. Right. And that's our goal by 2030. And there's a lot that has to happen with
A
that.
lot
And
that
you're the one who came to me
I
that
did
in your
say
one of your
that.
reviews, and you said, I want to do this. And I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Why
Let's do
not?
this, right? And so we have that. I have that on my whiteboard
Right.
in my basement office at home, $100 million premium by 2030. And the reason I want that, do you know the reason why we want to do that?
Yeah,
Why
we
don't you
want to
tell them?
serve.
We want to serve.
We want to be the hands and feet
Yep.
within the community
Absolutely.
and beyond. Make
Absolutely.
a difference in the world.
Yeah. And so it's not about growing our revenue and the premium and stuff so that we can get our own stuff. It's about how we can make a difference.
Unapologetic for profit.
Exactly. And so when you look at that, like you even look at some of the stuff just on a smaller scale that we're a part of right now with so one of the things that we do, and maybe I'll let you talk a little bit about this, Kailey, if you're cool with that, is the Gwendolyn Strong Foundation, which is in support of spinal muscular atrophy, is one of the organizations that we support through our referral program, and the other one is Eagles Nest International, the orphanage in Guatemala. But why don't you kind of talk about how our referral program works and why we're doing that?
Yeah. So in the beginning, we set these up because it was something where we're like, okay, we need to have these next. Like I was talking about before, it was a checklist. To me, it didn't really have much meaning because I didn't know about the foundations. And so as we continued to go on and I learned a little bit more, like just educating myself on, why the Gwendolyn Strong Foundation. I just remember it was one of the two that you listed, and then learning a little bit more about Tayson Langstrat in our community and getting to know him and just seeing what he's gone through and how the Gwendolyn Strong Foundation is really making a difference in strides within their research to help these kids and other children that have gone through it and learning their stories has just been, it's inspiring, and it's something that I'm really proud to be part of. And so basically for our referral system, we do $15 for each referral that we receive. No matter if we write it or not, for each referral we receive, we donate $15 in the name of our referral to the Gwendolyn Strong Foundation. And that one goes from July to December.
So we're in that right now.
Yep. We just started that one.
So if someone refers, let's say Josh refers Mark to
That's
us.
$15.
That's $15. It's going to go to the Gwendolyn Strong Foundation in support of SMA.
Yep.
And SMA, spinal muscular atrophy, is the #1 genetic killer of young children. And so when you actually step back, a lot of people don't know what SMA is.
When I became a mom, that just hit me even harder.
Yeah.
Like young children within where we're living are going through this right now, So that's something that was really powerful to me. And then basically if we look from January to June, an organization that is so near, I know to your heart, Dan, but to my heart as well, sponsoring little Jose, my baby, I call him, Eagles Nest International. So every referral that we receive, $15 is donated to them as well.
And that's also where all of our proceeds from the Lennon Comedy Night went. We almost $10,000, I think it was.
Yeah, we just about hit 10 grand.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
That was cool.
And it was a good night. So that's kind of just a little bit about our referral system. Yeah, we don't need to get too much into that, but Eagles Nest has definitely become a part of who we are, and sponsoring those kiddos. And Julie, Tana, and you just went in January, but that was really cool. Yeah. So it's been fun to be able to work with these organizations. They're good people.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think too, as our company continues to grow, it's about creating jobs right here in our community. Yeah. It's about creating not only jobs, but jobs that pay people well, and they can take care of their families, and they can do things with their kids, and they can support their own kids. But then also the fact is, like, what else, right? Yep. Because we don't want to just write checks.
No.
Because it's easy to write checks when things are going well. But I think the hardest time people have is giving of their time. But again, if we go back to trying to create community,
right?
What creates community? It's relationship, right? It's time. It's taking our phones and turning them off, which I actually did.
You did?
I turned that off, yeah. But how often do you sit, go out to lunch with someone and you sit and they put the phone right there?
Yeah.
The immediate body language and attitude that you're showing when you put your phone on the table.
Saying that it's more important than
it's
them.
more important than the person you're actually sitting and talking with.
Right.
And so I'm going to set it on the table
on that side.
over
Thank
here, out of sight.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel valued.
Thank you. Good. But again, it is like, what are we doing to create those relationships? And I know you're very passionate about community events.
Yes.
You love them.
I love
we
community
have
events.
The fact that you're recording this podcast with me like 2 days before the Razfest is supposed to start, and they have a record number of teams for the 3-on-3 basketball tournament.
Yep.
I believe it's the second largest in the state next to Hoop Fest.
Yep. After Hoop Fest.
Which is just a beast in itself.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But being a part of that and organizing so much for that event, and the Linen Comedy Night you did, and the other big thing that we're taking on this year is we're the official sponsor for the Demolition Derby.
Why not have the auto insurance company sponsor the Demolition Derby? It's genius. Like
it is kind of genius from a marketing standpoint.
It's so fun. I love it.
Every time someone comes up to me and they're like, "You're sponsoring the Demo Derby," and they kind of just have that smirk.
I'm
like, yeah. You know how many people are going to be talking about the insurance company?
It's so funny.
You know how many cheesy questions we're going to hear the same one over and over? Oh, did you insure that car?
Yeah, you're going to have a big claim on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's okay. That's what
fine.
we're there for. So just cool community events that can take place. And even as we look forward to Christmas, there's talks.
Are you going to announce it?
No, because I don't have anything finalized.
Okay. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. But we are going to have a Christmas event, and we're in talks with several different things, anywhere from a magician to a fairly high-profile band and singer that's going to come in. We got lots of options. So our goal is to do 2 or 3 of these a year.
Yes.
Of these big events, that all the money goes towards a different organization. And the one that the organization that we're actually looking at being a part of and funds going to this winter is Be the One Foundation.
So you talk about having or giving opportunities for people to step in. Can you talk a little bit about Be the One?
Yeah, Be the One's awesome, and it's essentially it's a mentorship program that's an hour a week for high school kids, junior high kids at the schools. And basically, what happens is there's kind of a parent organization over Be the One. Be the One's almost kind of like the marketing, a little bit of it, but basically, what happens is there is an adult mentor that gets vetted. It could be someone who's retired. It could be someone who is a youth leader. It could be a mom, a dad, whatever. And basically a lot of like teachers or people on staff, maybe if there is a kid that's going through a hard time, or they just feel like, hey, you could just use some quality time not looking at your phone or whatever it might be, of just being able to connect with someone that can help advise them as maybe they start through college applications, or they or they're just trying to figure out what they want to do with their life, or they just honestly need an outlet. It's just a really cool opportunity. And so what happens is Be the One basically raises money that and then gives that money essentially, I believe we're fairly new in partnering with them. Is how it is the money then goes to the school, and the school actually hires this person with a salary and benefits and everything like that. And so it's run to the school. And I know Linden High School and middle school does it right now. Ferndale is starting one in our area. Nooksack Valley is starting one. Linden Christian is starting one. And it's so cool to see this spreading, because to me, I had a mentor in my life growing up that was huge. It was a huge part of who I am today. And the time that he took and invested into me. I love you, Kent, if you're listening.
Hopefully he's your mentor.
I know, right? He lives in Michigan now, but we still talk a lot of Mariners and drown our sorrows with them. But it was a huge impact on me, and that's why we wanted to get behind it and be one of the sponsors for it, but then also use one of our events to raise funds to be able to provide those mentors for the different schools. So just a really cool organization. But those are the types of things that we want to be a part of. And we don't want to just be like I said, writing the checks. We want to help create these events.
Be active.
Yeah, and you've worked with me long enough now that you know I'm a brainstormer. Like, there's no bad idea. So let's come up with something that's going to be awesome and fun and beneficial from a community standpoint to bring people together to create relationship. But then can we have a financial impact on even helping further our community beyond that, right?
Right.
And so that's kind of our hope between or for the, unapologetically for profit, right? Is that we want to make as much money as we can in the position that we've been put in our community to be able to provide good jobs for people, to be able to raise our families, to be able to bless our other people in our community and even throughout the world.
Yeah.
And it's just, I hear so many cool things going on, and there's such a need out there. So if people got to buy insurance anyway, why not buy it from Manna, where we're going to actually impact people around the world, right? I mean, realistically, you look at the whole story of Tom's shoes and stuff like that. We were joking around before the show about this, and it's like, but why not? Like, why wouldn't you want your money going somewhere where you know it's going to be used to make a difference?
Yeah.
Right. And that's our whole purpose is if we can make a difference throughout this world and make it a better place. So
exactly. I think it's just such a cool opportunity, especially like in the position that you've kind of formed me into with community and just becoming so passionate about that. It's just been awesome to see the response that we've gotten and people coming up, especially that first Linden Comedy Night. Like that was our first event. Like there were times where I was just like, oh man,
are people going to show up?
What are we doing? Is it time to start giving out free tickets?
We had like 350 people show up.
Yeah, it was
That's
good.
not bad for
no,
first
but
time.
Just the response afterwards of just like, hey, thank you so much for doing this. And the thing that I love the most was people asking, how can I help?
Yeah.
How can I be part of this?
Yeah.
And that has, our event was in April. It's July. That's crazy. But just the response, like I'm still getting people asking like, hey, yeah, I'd love to be part of this, or when's the next one? I'd love to come out. And just circling back to, my goal is to be ahead of tragedy.
Yeah.
I think community is great during those times, and it's so important to support people going through those hardships, but also just the opportunity to have these times where we can just celebrate life and just come together and have this response as one and be unified together to then hopefully make a difference, not just Manna, it's beyond Manna.
Absolutely.
But as community. And I feel like I've said community probably 100 times in this podcast at least, but that's what it's all about, you know?
And even with that too, is you kind of step back and you look at the whole process of like, we formed this whole Manifest Productions and everything like that, which you can follow on Instagram. But you step back and you look at the purpose and everything behind it. And like you said, like, why do we got to wait for tragedy?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why can't, and I think so often we are so busy.
Yeah.
But what are we busy with?
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to an audiobook this morning as I got into work, and I was responding to emails, and it says you can tell what people value by where they spend their time and where they spend their money.
Yeah.
And it's really true.
Wow.
And when you stop back and you think about that, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to bring it out again.
Here's your phone.
How much time is spent on here? We were talking about this after our other podcast with Josh when we were sitting at the coffee shop, and we're like, our world is now scroll
on your
tap,
cell phone.
tap, scroll, tap, tap.
Yeah.
Right? And like, how sad is that? Like when you have an opportunity to be having a conversation of more depth, like face to face. And I think that maybe that's one of the reasons why I love like going on these mission trips to Guatemala or hopefully Tanzania soon and Mexico and all these other places, is you actually get to live life with people. And a lot of times, like, you might not have cell service where you're going, right, in a third world country, or you know, something might happen and you actually got to like work together. And there's something to be said about that, where we are so connected as a world today, but yet so distant in relationship from one another. Yeah. And so how do we start to create that? And how can we use our platform as a business, not only to encourage people, but to try to bring other businesses on board and catch the vision?
That's something I creep on overflow taps. honestly, because they get it.
Jesse does an incredible job
Jesse
with
is
clean water and
awesome.
everything.
Yeah, like they get it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's rare to
Yep.
see that, and it's really cool to see their culture build within their staff and what they're doing, and different benefits, you know, supporting the Sophia Milstead Foundation just
Yep.
a few months ago, or no, that was not a month ago. But just recently with that type of support, and getting involved in community and finding what people care about and supporting it, you know? So I think that was really awesome. But going back to what you said with going out to a third world country to get disconnected, you shouldn't have to go to a third world country to unplug.
No.
It shouldn't have to be that challenging.
No.
You know? So that's exactly why these events are so important to me. And I feel like to Mana, because it's time that we get ahead of our lives and just show up for one another.
Yeah.
You know, and love one another and just have that support.
Yep. I agree. Kailey, thanks for being on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Anthros crew, Josh and Mark, thank you so much for doing this. And Kailey, people can look for that upcoming event.
Yeah, on Manifest Productions.
At Manifest Productions on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram.
And at Mana Insurance Group on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep. And if you want to be part of it as well, I do have to plug this in. Please feel free to reach out to me if you want to get involved. If you want to be doing something, I'm always looking for different type of volunteers. Or if you want your 14-year-old to learn how to referee a basketball game. I think we're good for right now.
I think we're
but
good for refs. Yeah.
Next year, would love the opportunity to work with them.
Cool.
So
Cool.
I have to plug that. So
Well, thanks again for all you do for
thank you.
Mana, for me. We're just excited to kind of continue down this journey of trying to become a company that can really impact our community and our world and the people there, and really try to be a platform for creating relationships. So thanks again for being here, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next week. Podcast, thankfully, is brought to us by Nationwide Insurance. The agents at Mana Insurance Group know a lot about auto, business, farm, home, life, and retirement. Call Mana today at 360-922-0149. Nationwide is on your side. Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio, subject to underwriting guidelines, review, and approval.